talk about, my goal for the talk is Agile transition patterns. Why should you listen to me? I'm just another kid from the street, right? I have some experience and I've done things and stuff before. I've written a book and I've been, like Zvona said, I've been doing this training stuff for a while. I spent a lot of time working at Microsoft, spent a lot of time doing this startup thing, and some of the joys in my career, one of the things I've done is I've had the opportunity to really screw things up. Anybody? Really screw things up? Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? Right. And then I've also had the opportunity to do a lot of fun things and a lot of good things. Lots of fun projects. So in my years of doing this stuff, both working with teams, working at companies, either as an employer or a coach, I've noticed a lot of these patterns that I want to discuss with you today. Yeah, alphabet soup. My friend Peter Provost, he'll probably watch this at some point. He says this. He says, do you have the alphabet soup at the end of your name? Because if you do, then that makes you smarter, right? So here's my alphabet soup: PMP, ACP, CST, and I could probably think of, some other ones that would go on there as well, but alphabet soup. So that's a little bit about me, and then we've got my contact information if you want to follow me on Twitter. I do occasionally spout some knowledgeable things. Mostly it's just noise and garbage. But it's all good. It's loads of fun, website, and all that stuff. So how many of you have kids? Raise your hand, you got children. Or you have nieces or nephews. Okay? Everybody, right? Or you were a child at one point in your life. Okay? Yeah. So my kids they're growing up now. The 10-year-old, or the 9-year-old, he's going to be 10 in a couple of weeks. And he's really into mountain biking. Mountain biking. He's going to do mountain biking camp this summer. And he saved his money and he bought a mountain bike for $40 at a garage sale. And he's super excited. So I take him out as much as I can. We go biking. But it wasn't always taking him out. There was some fear associated. And when I was teaching him and all the other ones how to ride their bicycles, they would see their friends and they would become a little apprehensive. And I would tell them, like a good parent, I would say, you can do this. You're strong. Overcome your fear. I'm here to help you. I was creating this environment for them that was good, and I would put them on a bike, and like most parents, unfortunately, I focused on the wrong thing, which was riding, not starting or stopping. Because if you've ever noticed when you teach a child to ride a bike, the riding and the balancing is easy. It's the, holy crap, what do I do now? How do I stop? Well, I didn't think that far. Just put on the brakes. What are the brakes? And they don't know what's going on. So I did this to him. And he goes and he goes and he's going into some bushes. Buddy, stop. Buddy, stop. I don't know how, Dad. Boom. What did I say to him at that point? His bike was scratched up. He skinned his knee. He was scared. He didn't want to hurt himself. What did I say? I said, Carter, it's okay. Look at how far you went. That was 5 meters. That was awesome. And you could see his eyes light up. Really? Did you let go of the bike? Did you want me to? No. Then I didn't. Never lied to your children before? He was 5 or 4. Yeah, I was holding on the whole time. Sure I was. So I said to him, let's try it again. But Dad, I'm afraid. What are you afraid of? I'm afraid I'm going to fall again and I'm going to hurt my knee. It's okay. I will catch you. You can do this. I will catch you. And he does it again, 10 meters. He falls. He does it again. And we're doing this on the grass because, it's a little softer. He eventually says, riding on the grass is hard. I want to try the street. So come over here with me. So we walk over to the street. So put your hand down on this. You feel that? He goes, yeah. I said, that's more pain. That hurts. Because you fall here and you're wearing shorts. It's summer. You're wearing shorts, you're going to bleed. I don't want to bleed. You got to understand if it's worth it then or not. So we go through, and he eventually learns how to ride his bike. Now he likes going off jumps. He does all sorts of stuff that I just won't do because I'm old and I'm going to break. You know, kids, you can bend them. Little rubber man. Now, let's think about from a corporation, from a management standpoint, how I would handle this differently. Would any of you, if you were thinking about doing something new inside of your companies, would you have a boss that would say that to you? It's okay, you can do it. It's okay, give it a try. Oh, you fell, you hurt yourself? Oh, let me help you up. Everyone's laughing and shaking their head. I see this silently, okay? No, why not? Because the boss says you should get it right the first time. So let's apply that knowledge. Let's apply that mindset to this. Carter gets on the bike. He goes 5 meters. Instead of giving him encouragement and making him feel good, I say to him, "You suck! What the hell? You scratched your bike! Yeah, but my elbow." "I don't care about your elbow. You should know what you're doing. We've been watching the Tour de France all week. You should be an expert. You saw Lance Armstrong. It's easy." Sorry, gotta get that one in there. It's easy. You just go. And then you just stop. You should know how to do it. You went to training. That was the TV. Okay? This happens in life. This is a challenge. When we say, "I'm scared. What do I do? Help me get over this fear," because fear is something that we all have. How many of you have been afraid of something in the last week? We're adults. We shouldn't be afraid of anything, right? Why do we get scared? Because we're trying something new. The difference between us as adults and kids is kids have this empty void between their ears. Their imaginations run wild. They see things that aren't there. I remember clearly when I was 5 years old, I'm blessed with memory, which is not necessarily a good thing, but I remember seeing a ghost right next to my bed inside of an easel that I would draw on during the day. It was right there. And I remember getting up and screaming to my mom, Mom, there's a ghost in my room." And she came back and she looked, she turned on the lights, she tore apart my entire room. And I'm like, "No, it's not under the bed. There's nothing under the bed, Mom. It's here." I would not go back to sleep. She had to take the easel out. I never used it again. I still remember that ghost today. Last time I ever saw it. Okay? That was something that I had not experienced. That was something that was unknown. When we talk about this crazy Agile stuff, what we're talking about is thinking a different way, talking about how do we do things different. It's not the same thing over and over again. It is actually different. You're going to be doing coding different, planning different. My buddy, Christian Hasse, who's here in the audience, he's doing a talk this afternoon, and he was showing me some pictures around a team who in the past had been fearful, who in the past had been scared and uncomfortable with a way of working. And he said, look at these guys, I'm proud of them. They're working in a different way and they're doing more. And they like it. This is one of the things that we need to do to overcome our fears. This is one of our challenges. He was able to help them see the outcome. With my boy, I was able to help him see the outcome. I would say, Carter, you want to be able to ride with your friends, don't you? Yes. Okay. Are you willing to put in the time to make that happen? Let's see what that looks like. At the end of the summer, what you want is you want to be riding around the block. We want to go for bike rides. Yes, I want that. Okay. Then we have to get through this. And we can get through this, but we have to have a good environment to do it. There's lots of changes, lots of mental changes that have to happen. You see this with software teams. You see this in personal life. How many of you have learned something new this year, 2013? Raise your hand if you've learned something new. This week, you're going to learn something new today. You're going to learn something new tomorrow, and on Wednesday, you are going to try it for yourself. Are you scared? Yeah, a little bit. Why? Because you've never done it before. This is completely natural. Another thing that we can consider when we look at how do we adopt this crazy Agile stuff, we can adapt to it or gradually adopt it, right? And this is gradually doing it is good. You see, we'll talk about some companies, how they jump in, a couple patterns for that. Doing it slowly is good. Learning as you go. One of the things about Agile is that it's an empirical process. And what that means is that you're going to learn as you go. You're going to learn based on your knowledge, based on your skills, based on your surrounding environment. You're not going to have a traditional or a definitive project plan where this is what we're going to do and this is when we're going to do it, and that's exactly how it's going to work. It's an empirical process. But what this means is we need to be able to adapt. We need to be able to accept our anxiety and watch it. Accept it and watch it. We need to be aware, I'm sorry. We need to act normally, and then we need to repeat these steps, and then expecting the best at the end of the day. I say to myself, and I say to my kids, and I say to my teams, just about anyone that will listen, most people are tired of hearing it, I say, challenge yourself to be 0.02% better. 2/100ths. 0.02% better every day, on average. Some days, you'll be 10% better. Some days, you'll be 10% worse. But if we're able to, as people, achieve that little bit every day, our companies are going to grow, ourselves, our skills are going to grow. We are overall going to get better. We're going to be more innovative. We're going to be more competitive. Because that's what business wants. They want us to be innovative. They want us to be competitive. They want us, most importantly, to be predictable. How many of you have to work in an environment where you have to build the plan and the features and the cost before you even have a team? Anyone? You have to build everything, right? The iron triangle, time, scope, money. Let's figure all that out and then figure out if we can do the work based on that, and then we'll actually do it. Problem is we're wrong. We're not adapting, we're not changing, we're not modifying as we go. Now, when people transition to Agile, what we're looking at is this, right? We've got a bunch of patterns that I've seen. These are some of my most favorite ones, and I'm going to tell you some stories with these. Hopefully you like stories. I like stories. We do. Good. So we've got 5 that we're going to talk about. Jumping in. There are a variety of ways that you can jump in. We have another one, which is we're special. How many of you are special? Everybody's special. How do you know? Look at your fingerprints. We're special. Not only that, your parents told you so, didn't they? When you were little, you're special. I heard that all the time. You're special, Mitchell. I never really knew what it meant until I saw the doctor 50 times. And the doctor said the same thing. You're special. Excellent! And I would bounce off the walls. Yay, special! And off we would go. Okay, we got my Agile is not your Agile. Have you seen this one before? My Agile is not your Agile. People start arguing. No, you're doing that wrong. Test-driven development is really about testing, not development. They got it wrong, whoever made up those silly words. Jim Newkirk's a friend of mine. He was involved in this stuff early on, and he says to me today, yeah, we shouldn't have called it that. Should have called it test-driven design. A little bit different, okay? And the last 2, working remote. This is one of my favorite topics. Working remote. Now, this could be distributed. It could be whatever you want, but working remote. And then the last one, lip service. So lip service means blah, blah, blah. I'm paying you lip service. So let's hop in. Let's jump in, shall we? You will hear this. Let's jump in and do it. How hard can it be? Agile is just the latest fad. It's the flavor of the month. It's the flavor of the week. I had a company of mine where I was working and the guy said, he came over from, so this is a very large organization that I was in, very large. And he came over from one part of the company to another to lead our group. And he said to me, "What's going on? Why are you doing all this stuff? This makes no sense to me. Where's the project plan? Where's the work breakdown structure? Where's the resource allocation sheet?" The resource allocation sheet. If you say that one, if you're French and you say that, it's more fun. My old boss was French and he would say that. "Mitch, I need the sheets." "What sheets?" "I just go to the bathroom, Christian." No, the sheet. And then it got even funnier. Okay, so he comes over and he starts asking for all of this traditional stuff. So I explained to him, this is how we're working and why. This is how we started, and I'm going to hop more into that. And when we consider this stuff, you know, his response, I said, "Look, we have higher quality, more motivated people, all blah, blah." And he goes, "Yeah, but how am I supposed to run my business?" So I explain it to him. And he comes back and he says, "This Scrum stuff is just the flavor of the month. I'm going to let you keep doing it, but you need to prove to me that it works." Okay. So I did. And you know what he did anyway? Pulled the plug. And I'll tell you why after. He pulled the plug. So let's take a look at some of these patterns that we have for jumping in. So the first two that we've got, all right, flipping the switch overnight and adopting slowly. Now, flipping the switch overnight. Envision this, okay? Envision this. You go home on a Monday, or you go home on a Friday. You come in Monday morning, and now you're agile. How many of you have tried this or seen this? Anybody? No? Nobody? Good. Don't do it. Or, let me rephrase. Be aware of the situation that you're getting yourself into, and I'll show you how to, when you do this, I'll give you some tips. Okay? Flipping the switch overnight versus the longer one, which is adopting slowly. Now, adopting slowly is good, and you will see a lot of books recommend this, where people will say, "Hey, let's start off with this, and we'll get one team up and going. And then we'll split it. We'll take half and half, and we'll make 2 teams, and then we'll get them up and going. And then we'll split it. We'll go to 4 teams. And then 8 teams. This sort of sounds like the first trimester of creating a baby, right, ladies? There's lots of things going on. We don't really know why or what's happening with them. Now, what are the problems here? Well, the first one, obviously probably one of the biggest ones, is lack of training. People just hop in. They say, "Awesome. So my boss read in a magazine that this Agile thing is the way to go. And he read about all the great stuff that Agile brings. So on Monday, we're going to be Agile." Is anybody getting this one yet? Maybe you're going to get it on Wednesday. You went to training. You went to a conference. Now we're Agile. Yes, good for you. Okay. Okay, lack of training. People don't know what they're doing. This would sort of be like, speaking of football, throwing together a team at the last minute to go qualify for the World Cup. You're going to get out there on the pitch. Let's just play the under-18s. They get out there, they get their butts handed to them by, I don't know, Fiji. You know, a football powerhouse. And they lose. Do you qualify for the World Cup? No, you don't. Why? You don't know what you're doing. Teams are different. The next one, the culture. Now, I don't mean culture like bacteria. I mean culture like business. Business culture. Let's go back to the story I was telling you about, this manager who came over from one part of the company to another. In our organization, we had a larger organization, we had the culture. The culture supported it. The people supported it. The people were committed. But when he came in, suddenly there was this culture shift. Things changed. Things were different. And as a result, this Agile stuff started dying out even though we had data, even though we had information, empirical information that showed us this was the right thing to do. We are on the right path. His response was, I don't understand it. We need to go back to the old ways of working. Sort of sounds, I don't know, a little dictatorish to me, but you know, that's the joy of being a manager, right? Who are the managers? Sorry. I'm just an employee. I'm married. I have a boss at home.
So you have another manager.
I have another manager, right? And then the last one, having something to blame. Now the thing with blaming, this is a good one, because let's go back to the story. You got this guy who doesn't understand it. And he told me that. I don't understand what you're doing. I don't understand why you're doing it. You're producing results, but I can't plan for anything. You're not telling me exactly what the cost will be. So when teams started failing because the culture was shifting, do you think that this person took accountability for his actions? Do you think he had accountability to the organization? No. Why? It's easier to blame something else than it is to blame yourself. In fact, just recently, this is a pattern that you see all the time. You see this in kids, you see this in adults. This has to do with a level of maturity. My son, if he ever watches this, will be very upset with me in telling you this story. Every year we do this thing called the Pinewood Derby in Cub Scouts. What it is it's a track about from here to the wall, and it starts here and it slopes, and you make these little wooden cars. And you put the little wooden car on the track and you race the car. Well, for the last 2 years he's won. This year he came in 3rd place. And what he said to my brother-in-law was, the other kid who won copied my design from last year. It's not my fault I lost. So we're going to, because this was just a week ago, we're going to have a talk when I get home. He's assigning blame. As a parent, I want my kids to be accountable. As a manager, I want my employees to be accountable. As a business owner, I want people to be responsible, healthy, giving adults. And this becomes a big mindset shift when we're talking about having something to blame. Let's take a look at this one. We're special. Notice the image here. Snow. Snowflakes are unique, aren't they? Snowflakes are special. They're very special. Who's a snowflake? No snowflake? Yeah. Yeah, who can I start calling snowflake? Nobody? Come on.
What's come after?
Yeah. Agile sounds great, but we're different. We're unique. We're special. How many of you have ever heard this one at work? We're special. This doesn't apply to us. Yeah, at the bank. The bank. I love banks. You know why? They take all my money and charge me money. It's fantastic. Not only do I give them lots of money, I then get to pay them so that they can have it. It's fantastic. It's a good system. I need to get into banking.
We need our salary.
We need, yeah, 20% fee. We're special. So I'm working with this company in, well, let's call it somewhere in the northern hemisphere. And they say to me, we're special, we're different, we're unique. We're the only company that can do this. I said, that's fantastic. Notice the image here. That's fantastic. So what you're telling me is that there is no other company in the world that builds what you build. Well, no. We have competitors. Oh, so you have competitors, but they don't build the same thing that you do. Well, no, they actually do. Yeah, but the thing that they build is so different from what you build that they're not really competitive. Well, it's actually the same thing. But I thought you were special. I thought you were unique. I thought you were different. Well, we are. There's drugs for that. Agile sounds great, but we're different. And what this means at the end of the day is we have to think in a different way. We're not unique. Our culture is not unique. I have traveled, I think, this coming to Croatia, first time here, this is beautiful. I want to bring my family here. I think this will be my fourth country, my first, second, third new country that I've been to this year. And in traveling and in seeing this stuff, I'm not seeing a lot of companies that are different. I'm not seeing a lot of companies that are unique, that have similar culture. Everybody has the same problems. But at the beginning, everybody says to me, we're unique, and these are problems you will have never heard before. At which point, I sit down. I find the nice, biggest, comfortable chair that I can find and a couple pillows. I put my feet up, I grab a beer, and I say, awesome. And I slam it. Tell me about your problems. Wait, are you sure? Because you've never seen this before. And I grab another beer. Okay, let's go. And then they say, we're the only company in the world that build this. We are the only company that thinks this way. We. You would think that they were French, but they're not. And we go on and on and on, and then I start highlighting to them. So what you're telling me is this. Yes. What you're telling me is that. Yes. So no other company builds software. No. No other company builds hardware. Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. And then I start giving them examples, right? This becomes just a mental block. An old boss used to call this an invisible roadblock. We see things that aren't there. We're letting our imagination run wild because of fear. Fear is setting in. We're seeing things that frankly don't exist. There's drugs for that too. You gotta love Western civilization, Western medicine, right? You get a drug for anything. And then the last ones, right? Only we can do what we do. How many of you have heard this one before at your companies? Only we can do it. I love hearing this one at banks, picking on banks. Only we can take money and go bankrupt. Only we can charge fees. Only we. Right? And the last one. So this Agile stuff is great. It's good for them. It's good for people that build websites. Not for us. We don't build websites. We build critical systems. We build financial systems. We build healthcare systems. We build hardware and software that manages electrical grids. We're unique. We're special. We're different. Now, I always sit there and I say to them, I will have to take your word for that because I'm not a website guy either. I'm a back-end infrastructure, millions of users type of guy. And if the systems go down, it's about $50,000 to $100,000 a minute in loss. So if you say it's good for the web, I'm going to have to trust you on that one, but I'm going to call BS on the other stuff. But remember, this is, again, thinking that you're special. This is being humble. Somebody said to me the other day, I was in Portugal. I was sitting at a bar, and I meet this pilot from United Airlines, really cool guy. And he goes, what do you do? And I said, yeah, I fill people's heads full of lies. And he goes, really? I said, well, no, it's more hopes and dreams and wishes, but some people think they think it's all lies because they think they're special. And he goes, well, you must be really good at what you do. And I said, I'm just another guy. He said, yeah, but. I said, no, right? And this is the thing. To get over this one, you have to have that humility. You have to be humble. You have to be comfortable. You have to be willing to screw things up. I'm okay with screwing things up. I like screwing things up. I think it's actually, kind of fun. So when we get past this stuff, we have to understand three things. Software is software. Your line of code and my line of code are lines of code. If it's written in C++, if it's written in C#, if it's written in assembly, it's a line of code. It's meant to do something, which is to make the little processor, turns ones and zeros into the actions and behaviors that we want. We need to bend the computer to our will. And you have to do it like that. Or if you're a Simpsons fan, right? Excellent. Okay? It's how we think that's different. How we think. Again, Agile's about principles and values, and you're going to hear Andrea talk at the end of the day tomorrow about how the why is more important than the how. So I urge you to go to that session because it's going to be really, really good. But it's going to play more on that. My Agile is not your Agile. Now, I didn't pick this picture. A buddy of mine did because he likes giraffes. I thought it was cool. It's far better than the one I had here. My Agile is not your Agile. A lot of people will say that a camel was really a horse designed by committee. Right? You ever heard that one? A horse designed by committee, a camel. Fantastic. What the heck does that mean, right? Why can't you just see it my way? You know I'm right. You ever heard this one?
Yeah.
My uncle said to me, I was visiting him in Montana. Montana's this very rugged state, and I love it there. It's a giant state with 800,000 people. We're in the middle of the Rockies overlooking a lake. In fact, I think I have a picture of it. And my aunt, Ursula, starts saying something, and his response, yes, dear. Smiles. Why can't you just see it my way? You know I'm right. I'm working on a project, and we bring this new guy in. These are his words. He says, you know I'm right. See it my way. Why can't we just do it like this? What you're doing is stupid. We shouldn't have the daily stand-up meeting every day because on my team, we did it once a week. I said, you had a daily meeting once a week? Yes. And we saved time. How did you save time? Well, easy, because the daily meeting should be 15 minutes. That's an hour and 15 minutes a week. We just did it for an hour. We saved 15 minutes a week. Good for you. That's nice. You're special. You're special, right? Now, what are the challenges we got here? We got people with different ideas. This gets back to this whole lack of training thing. You got to have a common understanding, a common language. Last night at dinner, there was a side discussion that I was listening in on. The differences, some of them, between Brazilian Portuguese and Portuguese Portuguese. Anybody speak Portuguese? Tu fala português? So there's a lot of subtle differences here, right? The Brazilian guy was saying last night, yeah, well, in Brazil, we just say, good for you. You do what you want, because the Portuguese reinvented the language 4 years ago, or rewrote it, or rewrote the rules or something.
Like
US English and UK English, right?
Or Australian.
Or Australian English, yeah. Or Scottish. Yeah. Now, the funny thing is, right, people with different ideas, you hear this, the UK English and the US English, I hear this one all the time. My friends and I will argue. You know what his response is, the guy's response? Every time, every guy, and you're going to see a guy from the UK here later tonight. He's got to talk tomorrow, Paul Goddard, a good friend of mine, funny guy. He says, I'm English, we invented the bloody language. Don't tell me about rules. I like that one. But again, people with different ideas. And what happens here, what the cause is people spend all this time arguing and fighting about the rules. Should we do test-driven development or not? Should we pair or shouldn't we? My interpretation of how this works is totally different. And as a result, we lose focus. We don't know where we're going. We don't see the path ahead because we're too distracted by these invisible roadblocks that we think are critical, when in reality, they're just ghosts in the room. Again, we're letting fear take over. How many of you, I'm going to make a Western pop culture reference, know who Indiana Jones is? Oh, Indy, right? I love Indiana Jones. I grew up watching Star Wars in Indy, and, you know, I just can't get enough. And Harrison Ford getting old, it's like, oh no, you know, can we put him back in time so he can make more cool stuff? Yeah, well, I was up there. Now, how many remember the movie The Last Crusade? Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, he's trying to find the cup of Christ. And there's this one scene, if you've never seen the movie, go watch it. Please. You will like it, even if you don't understand it. There's this one scene where he has to cross this chasm. And he's reading the notes, the references from his father, who was played by Sean Connery. and it says, you must make a leap of faith. And you see Indy, he's sitting there looking over this chasm, and he goes, takes a deep breath, puts his leg out, and makes it. And then the camera pans off to the side, and you see that it's really a bridge, but it's painted to look like a chasm. He throws sand over it, and he safely crosses with his posse. This is one of the things that you need to be able to focus. You need to be able to take this leap of faith. Let's talk about number 3. Working remote. Excellent. How many of you work in distributed environments? How many of you work remotely? How many of you work from home? How many of you have teams elsewhere? Raise your hand. Should be just about everyone. Come on. Elsewhere. The people that don't, I mean, you guys are lucky. And you don't know it. You don't know how lucky you are, because why on earth would we want to work remotely? Help me out, guys. Help me out. Hassa. Why would people want to work remote? Give me one reason. People aren't available on site. Right, people aren't available on site. What's another potential reason? You guys are working with distributed teams. Why? Lower costs. Absolutely, it's cheaper, right? Outsource that stuff to India. What's that? It actually might be much more. Shh, don't tell anybody that. Right? We don't.
The coffee's better.
The coffee's better, yeah, but we don't want anyone to know that it's going to be more expensive, because it's faster to lose your competition this way. What's another reason? Anyone? Bueller? Supposedly, people are happier. Think about it. Let's talk about this working remote. Okay, so working remote could be a variety of things. It could be offshoring and outsourcing. It could be working from home. Right? How many of you work from home? Ever? You work from home? Yeah. Yeah. It's way more productive, isn't it? It's way more productive. Why? Because you don't have to deal with... Huh? Then, oh, when the family's sleeping, it's productive. If you ship the family out of the house and you stay home, it's productive, because wouldn't our jobs be easier without the customers and without our teammates? Life would be so much easier if we could just do what we wanted to do. We would be way more productive. And like you said, it's cheaper. Anybody heard of a little company called Yahoo? Yahoo, right? The best place on the internet since a long time ago. Okay. They got a new CEO, right? Lady. Just had a baby, too. CEO that had a baby. Marissa Mayer. There she is. Speed and quality are often sacrificed when we work from home. We need to be one Yahoo, and that starts with physically being together. Anybody hear about this? Anybody know why she did this? This was about, 6 weeks ago, I think. We need to be one Yahoo. Why? She wanted to fire a lot of people. Maybe. When we're at home, we're more productive. No? Are you ever going to win a battle with distributed teams? Maybe. Maybe not. People are more productive when they're alone. I think we somewhat agree with that. However, you continue. They are more collaborative and innovative when they're together. Some of the best ideas come from pulling two different ideas together. Managers, what's more important to you? Having people productive or having people being innovative? Both? Yeah, both. I agree. This is a balance. Think about Yahoo. Let's look at them for a minute. When you think of the internet, do you go there? Anybody use Yahoo anymore? Not anymore. How many of you used Yahoo in 98, 99, 2000? Because that's where you went. That's where I went. I used Yahoo religiously for everything, and then all of a sudden, it became irrelevant. They stopped innovating. And if you stop innovating, you die. You can either die a slow death, or you can die a fast death. But you die. And sometimes you could actually be too innovative. You don't get over the chasm. You don't get over the hump. The early adopters never move beyond. Right? You don't get the entire market. And this is key when we talk about working remote. We, as an organization, as a culture, as a team, we have to figure out what we value. Do we value productivity, or do we value innovation? Because in this day and age, I can innovate daily, and I can get feedback from my customers daily. I can push stuff out daily. Now, for larger systems, let's talk about banks. As a customer of a bank, because I do not store my money in my mattress, even though I want to, right next to my guns, and bars of gold, like any good American. All right?
We are patriots.
Yeah, I'm a true patriot, exactly. Okay? I have to have these trusts in the banks. I don't want the bank to be changing its system on a daily basis. And the thing here is you got to figure out what your business is and what your customers can tolerate, because the internet, Yahoo is an internet company. They should be innovating at breakneck speed. Google keeps introducing new stuff. Microsoft, believe it or not, is starting to pick up new stuff. Things are happening faster and faster. You're seeing product releases, legacy product software releases go from 5 years to 18 months to pretty soon 9 months. You're seeing computing hardware double. Moore's Law states that everything's going to double. Yeah, everything still is doubling. I have a Galaxy Nexus device, and you can see the new Nexus 4. It's twice as fast as this old piece of crap that's a year old. If you don't innovate, you die at the end of the day. And in order to innovate, you need to be together. Why is this one here? What we lose, right? We have, be aware, yeah, that one's still there. Communication saturation. When we're together, like we are now, we are able to get more value than if I was, say, on a webcam at home, where it would be approximately 3 in the morning. Imagine me being on the screen right now, in my pajamas, stinky breath and all, battling away. You would be half as engaged as you are now, except for the guy that's asleep over here in the front. Oh, he's awake now. Delays in answers. The time zone difference. Christian and I experience this all the time. 9 hours. Seattle to Austria, Seattle to here. 9 hours. That means if I get up in the morning and I send an email at 7 a.m., I might get a response. Problem is, I don't like getting up at 7 a.m. I like getting up at 7:15. And then I make a coffee, and then I do something. So I send an email around 8, which is 5 o'clock. Everybody just left for the day. Which means my answer, minimum response time 24 hours. Now, if I have something if I have a problem I'm trying to solve, I can't solve it, can I? Because I have the delay. Control my imagination, yeah. We'll talk about those ones later. Let's talk about lip service. Okay. Let's talk about lip service. Lip service is a good one. I started this story earlier. All right. This Agile stuff is too hard. Do you think my boy said that when he was learning to ride his bike? It's too hard, Dad, I can't do it. Do you think my teams said that when I said, guys, we should look at test-driven development? Yeah, it's too hard. Do you think NASA said that when they said we should build the space shuttle? Yeah. Do you think the flight crews who were in Houston who needed to manage the Apollo 13 incident managed that? It's too hard. We can't solve it. Do you think the Boston Police Department said that a week ago? It's too hard. A lot of people do. And when they do, they don't get results. They give up. They quit. They walk away. And then they assign blame. Now, this is a challenge. This is something that sabotages culture. Because people are saying one thing. They're saying, yes, 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 when really on the back end they're conspiring to tear it down. And here's the bad part. Here's the scary part even. Some of us don't even know we're doing it. I've done it. Guys, tell me if you've ever done this before. I want steak for dinner and beer. So I say to my wife, you know what sounds fantastic? This very elaborate fish meal. We're going to go buy some fish and we're going to do all this stuff and it's going to take 6 hours to prepare. And I've never done it before, honey. Will you help me? Guys, have you ever done that before? And your wife says to you, well, man, that's a lot of work. And we've never done it before. But it's okay. We've got all day. And it's a nice sunny day like it was yesterday. Got all day. Not a problem. And then she says, is there anything else we could do instead? Well, I mean, we could always just get a steak and some beer. And I'll cook everything. I'll take care of that. Yeah, let's do that. Excellent. Okay. Am I sabotaging? Maybe, maybe not. Software. Let's put this back to software. I had a team member once who said to me, I love test-driven development. I love Scrum. I love all this XP stuff. And we sat down to do it, and you know the first word out of his mouth was, can I go back to my office and write some code? What about the collaboration? What about the innovation? What about the working together? What about the whole remote thing? What about all this stuff? Yeah, well, I work better. I'm more productive when I'm in my office. So let me just go do that. And we're like, that seems weird, but okay. He goes off, comes back 2 weeks later, 10,000 lines of code. All right, it's done, it's checked in. The system blue screens. Dude, what the hell? Because Californian, right? Dude, everything's dude. And he goes, what do you mean? I did test-driven development. After I wrote the code, in the next sprint, I'm going to write all my tests. That sucks. People say it, but they don't do it. This gets right back to the whole, I'm going to do my daily stand-up meeting once a week. I'm going to do test-driven development and write my tests after. I'm going to do 18 development sprints, 14 testing sprints, 3 release sprints, and then 2 praying sprints. Because what are you praying for? You're praying that your customer says, yeah, that's perfect. When in reality, what will they say? I thought it would look different. Exactly. This is not what I expected. This is not what I meant. What I meant was this other thing. And then, of course, we say, wow, really? Okay, well, we'll change it. But you've got to pay for it. At which point your customer says, I'm not paying, and you have to do it all for free, and I have to have it today. And next thing you know, you're in court. You're screwed. Changing what you call things, yeah. I love this one because people say, yeah, we do Scrum. We have this daily, weekly status meeting. And fail. Okay? The last two, lack of commitment and the blame game. The easiest thing, the biggest mistake people can make is having some manager, some position of authority say, thou shalt be agile. You're agile. And you're like, dude, why are you touching me? Agile. Stop touching me. You're scaring me. Yeah, Agile.
You should have a sword. Yeah, sword.
Yeah, the Agile sword. Okay, this becomes a huge challenge. People will blame this stuff. Now, how do we weather the storm? How do we get through these patterns? Because getting through these patterns is rough, right? Who's gone through them before? Anyone? Couple? Yeah, multiple times. I'm married. I go through them daily. Okay, weather the storm. What do we do here? People have to be committed. I'm going to start at the fun one. I had my first team. It took me 4 months. 4 months. 8 hours a day to get 5 people on board with actually trying it. Just trying it. And it wasn't even trying it for a year or 2 years. It was trying it for 3 months. It took me 4 months to get people committed for 3 months. And you know what I said to them? I said, guys, please, 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 for about 8 weeks. And then when that didn't work, because they ended up, I became a punching bag. They would hit me, get out of here. And then I started bribing them. I'll give you stuff. I'll give you stuff you want. Developers, who's a developer? Raise your hand, developers. What do you want at work more than ever? When you sit down and spend your day on the keyboard, you want a what? A Coke.
Pizza, maybe.
A Coke, I want free drinks, I want free food, and I want a computer that is fast as hell. With a monitor this big, 2 monitors this big, kick-ass sound system, but more importantly, I need those 64 gigs of RAM. And I need my Xeon processors. I need it. Why? Because then I can just run my entire computer in memory and things are fast. Hardware. So I said to these guys, look, here's what we're going to buy for our team space. We're going to buy top of the line this, top of the line this, top of the line this, top of the line this. And you could just see the drool dripping off their face. Really? Really? Then what? I said, well, then we get to use them. Oh, and it was like a 12-year-old boy looking at a girl for the first time. Do we get to keep them if we don't like it? I said, I'll make a deal with you. I said, if you stick it out for 3 months, you can have the monitor. The monitor is 24-inch. In the office, all we had were 19s. But I need the computer. I said, you give me a year, you can have the whole rig. You can have everything. I might even give you 2 of them. And these were $6,000 just for the boxes. An additional $600 for the monitors. This should tell you back, when stuff was expensive. So they're, of course, okay, 3 months, and I get the monitor? Yep. How about 9 months for the computer? Sure, 9 months, done. You know why? Because I knew in 9 months, I would own them. They would be mine. They would be committed. So they started off and they said, okay, we'll do it. And I said, but these are the ground rules. These are the ground rules going back to this one, right? Changing what you will call things is not what we are doing. We're actually going to do it, and we're going to do it totally different. And they said to me, well, what happens if I fail? I said, I expect us to fail. The difference is I expect us to fail early. I want to get the failure over with so we can get on with being good. Because we know we're going to fail. Everybody fails all the time. It's just a matter of when. Do you want to fail right at the end, or do you want to fail right at the beginning? So I said, can we fail at the beginning? And they said, yeah, how do we do that? I said, I don't know. We always seem to figure it out at the end. Maybe let's just figure out how to screw things up at the beginning. And they go, oh, okay. We had to get training and practice to make this happen. Because the whole thing, the whole time, this whole 4-month thing, what we were trying to do is help them overcome their fear, which is what we talked about in the beginning. Fear got the best of them, of their managers, and the only person that supported us was our general manager. He said, here's a badge and a gun. Do what you need to do, but don't kill anyone. I was empowered. And because I was empowered, I was able to gain commitment. You do these things, life will be good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck. And I think, yeah, we've got some, how much time do we have for questions?
7 minutes.
7 minutes, go.
What
Yes,
would
sir.
you say if,
Look at the heckler in the front row here.
what would you say if somebody say that has no time to do TDD?
Sure.
Has no time.
So the question is, the scenario is you have an individual who is being asked to do test-driven development. And they keep saying, I have no time. It takes too long. What I would say to them is, you're right. You don't have time because test-driven development actually takes about 10 to 20% longer to write your code. It does. It will physically take you more time. So if you spend an hour doing this, you're going to now spend an hour and 10 to 20 minutes doing the same thing. And they go, yeah, and that sucks. Exactly, it does. Now, of course, I have an answer. Think about it like this. Test-driven development allows you, the developer, to build a safety net. Imagine the tightrope walker. They're walking down the tightrope at the circus and they fall. What happens? They hit the net and they get right back up and they land right back on that wire and they keep going. That net are your tests. That net allows you to figure out where in your code things are going wrong. It allows you to get right back on track quickly. It's not a question of do you have time, do you not have time to write the tests first. The real question is how can you afford the time to not? I think about test-driven development, I think about a lot of these practices sort of like debt. Something we're all familiar with, especially my country. It's 16 trillion. Okay? We've got to pay it. Now, if I'm writing tests, I'm essentially doing two things. Number one, creating my design using an empirical process. Number two, I'm creating a safety net that allows me to prevent having future debt. Because how many of you have spent a day or two in a debugger?
A day.
A day or two? A year, yeah. You sit there line by line by line trying to find the problem. You do test-driven development, that disappears. Suddenly you know my problem is here. You go there. Huh, interesting. I fix it. Did that solve the problem? No, there's another problem. You know where you're going. It's like following the dots. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4. A 5-year-old can do it. So should you. Does that help answer your question?
Yes.
In a long way.
I think there's another response, which is that the writing of the test is where you actually decide what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it absorbs a lot of the analysis time.
It does.
Although you're actually typing 10, 20, probably twice as much code, it's not necessarily twice as much work.
Correct. So the statement, just so we have it on the microphone here, is, shit, say it again. I don't remember what the hell you said. I can't re-articulate it. It was so eloquent and nice.
Put it on later.
Talking to those.
Talking to those. That they, I've lost it now.
It's the amount of time invested.
All right.
And the design.
The point in the process of writing tests is when you decide what you're actually going to do, and you flush out a lot of the detail requirements, so that although you may be spending more time typing code and have more code, that it's not necessarily costing you more because you're absorbing some of the analysis time.
Yep.
Couldn't
have said it better. What time is your session on TDD? Right after this, right?
Sometime today.
Sometime today. Yeah, so before the sun goes down, I recommend you go. I'm debating on whose I'm going to go to. How much more time do we have for questions? 3 minutes. So we probably, knowing my talking speed, have at least one more available. Looks like I'm the only thing standing between you and food.
30-second answer that I should give to a manager in a bank. When
say we cannot go agile because we need to have an estimation of the cost before.
Sure.
It's the standard way of.
I will do my best. 30-second answer that we would give a bank manager where the manager is saying, we can't go agile because we have to have the cost estimation before. Reset, start. All right, 30 seconds. It's like Jeopardy. We can have the cost estimation before, and in order to get the cost estimation, what we have to have is, number one, a dedicated team. Think about a car with liters per 100 kilometers. Some cars are more efficient than others. We have to have an efficient car. That gives us higher degrees of predictability, and with higher degrees of predictability and a known velocity, we are able to create a more accurate, more predictable release plan with a higher degree of confidence that allows us to be able to respond to change and see what the plan is, and we know the cost because we have the cost of the team laid out ahead.
So basically,
43 seconds.
It's not true that you cannot make estimation as they believe.
It is absolutely not true. Remember, estimation is nothing more than trying to decide if you can or cannot do something. Estimation is not a commitment. Estimation is a, I think we're going to do something around this time. I estimate I will leave on the airplane tonight at 5:45. Because that's what the plan is. I do not expect to leave at 5:45. I expect to leave between 5:30 and 6:30. So you can actually create that stuff. There's a lot of literature and books and all sorts of crazy things on that. Lastly, image credit slide, because I know we're recording this stuff. This is important because these aren't a couple of these are mine, but for the most part, you've got a lot of kick-ass people taking a lot of kick-ass pictures. So thank you to these guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.